Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a really quick tutorial on how to retouch and enhance eyes without making them look too fake. Now, I know this is a really big problem that a lot of people do tend to face when they're trying to retouch eyes and really trying to brighten them up. I do find that it's a very light-handed approach that needs to be taken usually when you are enhancing eyes, because it's definitely a good thing to brighten them up a little bit because it can give them more life in an image, but I think you do have to do it in a very light-handed fashion so it doesn't come across looking too doll-like or too fake if that's not really the approach that you want for your photograph, and if you're looking at more or less putting your photography in a commercial category. So I'm going to show you guys how I usually do edit eyes and retouch them in a very light-handed manner. So before I start the video today, for those of you who don't know yet, I have released new presets on my website. I've released a few packs over on my shop page. So to purchase these, you guys can just go to my website, kayleejune.com/shop, and they're all listed down on there. Any purchases of my presets will go to help supporting this channel. So please head on over to kayleejune.com if you're interested. And thank you so much to all the people who've given me such great feedback so far. I really appreciate it, and let's get on with the video. So usually I will use dodge and burn, and the way I use dodge and burn is by duplicating the background layer here. So just by dragging that into the new layer button, and that gives you the background copy. This is just so if we need to use any of the healing tools or anything like that, then we've got the base layer here just in case. I always do it this way because I never know if I'm going to need this layer or not, so it's always just good to have that in there initially. And then I'm going to go down to the adjustment layer panel down here, and I'm going to create a curves layer. So I've shown you guys how to do this before, and I have actually included a dodge and burn workflow action in a couple of my preset packs online through my shop on my website. So you can actually get that action if you do purchase any of the bundles for Photoshop. So just showing you guys how to do this, I would usually move the line quite far up for the first curves layer. This is going to be the dodging layer, just about there. And then I'll hold down Control and I, so it inverts. I'm going to create another curves layer, so the same way again. And then I'm going to bring the line down this time. This will be the burning layer. And then Control and I again. So both of the layers are inverted, and usually I will grab the paintbrush tool just on the side here, and I'll have a soft brush, hardness at 0%, and size we're going to move up to around, let's say, about 100 pixels. And then the flow is going to be quite low, probably around about 13%. And this is how I would usually dodge and burn. So the flow does change depending on what areas of the face I am working on and how heavy I want the paintbrush to be on those areas. We do need to make sure that white is selected as the color. And then we're going to go to the first curves layer, which is the dodge layer. And we're going to start to paint over the part of the iris that is already light. So I'm not going to try and paint over too much of the iris where it's dark, because that's when it can start to look very fake and very doll-like. So I'm just going to add a little bit more light in this area, just around the middle part. And just so we're kind of brightening that up a little bit, more so on this side where the light is coming from. So I'm just going to lighten up that area. Now to bring it down a little bit, I'm going to go to the burn layer, which is the curves 2 layer, and I'm going to make the brush size a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to burn the inside of the iris just here, and just this area here where it starts to get a bit darker. And also around the rim of the iris as well, just to kind of bring that in a little bit more and give it a little bit more depth. This is what this technique usually does. Okay, and then I'll work on the detail of the iris. So usually I like to go to the curves layer again, the first curves layer, which is the dodge layer. Hopefully this isn't too confusing with you guys. Usually I would like to name the layers, but I'm being a little bit lazy today. And then I'm going to just get a really small brush and start painting with the dodge tool. Just like keeping them as little strokes in the iris. And this kind of gives it a little bit of texture, so it doesn't look too soft. that's not really what we want. We want a little bit more detail in there. Okay, and then I'll go to the burn layer again. So I just keep switching back and forth, and now I'm going to place the burn in the darker areas of the iris and start doing the stroke technique again. So this will hopefully give it a little bit more texture in the iris. So I'm going to take a snapshot now and go back to the original. So that's what we've changed it to now. So that's kind of giving the iris a little bit more depth, a little bit more texture. And now I would move on to the coloring of the iris. If I wanted to enhance the color a little bit more, what I would usually do is create a new layer. So just by clicking this box here, I would still have the paintbrush tool selected, and then I would go to, probably in this case for Ashlyn's eye color, I'd probably go to like a slightly teal blue color and make the paintbrush a little bit bigger. Same flow and opacity as we had before, and then I would start painting over that area of the eye where it's a little bit brighter and you want the color to be enhanced a little bit more. So I'm not going to affect this area here where it's a little bit more brown because I want that brown to still show through in the image. And then I would usually go to the blending modes just here. So you can choose whatever blending mode you think is going to work the best. I usually try hard light or overlay. You can choose color if you just want to have the exact color that you've chosen as a bit of an overlay there. But I'm going to, in this case, choose hard light. And then I think I'm going to bring the opacity on that layer down just a little bit. So if we click that layer on and off, you can see it's just changed the color a little bit more, but we've still got the depth there from the dodge and burn. I'm going to move the opacity down just a little bit further because I do like having the separation there between the brown and the grey-blue color. So that's how I would usually change the color of the iris or enhance it. And I usually don't change the color very often, and I don't really enhance it that often either. But if I do want to really bring the color through, that's how I would usually do it. And then the last step that I would usually work on with this area of the eye is the sclera. I'm not 100% sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's the white part of the eye here. And sometimes that can be a bit of an issue if it's quite red or there's a lot of veins and lines going through it, or sometimes it can be quite discolored. It can be quite yellow, and there might need to be like minor corrections made there. So I would usually grab another layer, new layer here, and still keeping with the brush tool at the same settings. I would then hold down Alt on the keyboard and eyedropper a color around this area, so probably around here. We'll make the brush a little bit smaller, and then I would start painting just over that area of the eye to brighten it up a little bit, because it can sometimes be quite dark as well, depending on the shadows that you've got going on in the image. So to brighten it up, I would just do that. And then for the other side, I would do the same thing again, holding down Alt on the keyboard and selecting a color nearby. And then just filling in that a little bit more. I don't go too heavy-handed with that though, because that can also really make it look strange and make the eye look quite doll-like, which is not really what we want. But that's how I would generally edit the inner eye on a portrait, and especially if it's up close and I really want to enhance it, that's how I would usually do it. So keeping in mind, you can also change the brush adjustments here in the brush settings. And if you want to have transfer selected, which I do, that usually helps with creating a really soft brush and keeping it down to pen pressure if you're using a tablet, which is what I usually like to do. You can also use shape dynamics to make it a more streamlined brush shape, but I generally don't use that when I'm using these tools for enhancing eyes in particular. So guys, I'm going to give you a before and after now of what this looks like. So I'm going to take a snapshot and show you guys straight away. So this was the before of the eyes. So you can see it's lit quite well, but I just feel like there's something that can be done that's a little bit more enhanced with the eye. So if we go down to our newest snapshot, you can see the after. So you can see that there's quite a big difference here. I'm going to zoom out and show you a before and after as well. So that is the before image and that is the after. So it really just enhances it a little bit more without looking too doll-like. If I had my way with this one, I'd probably just toned down the sclera a little bit with the editing that I've done on it, and you can do that just by bringing the opacity down if you feel like you've gone a little bit too far with it. And I'd probably just bring it down a little bit to 70%, and that's how I would usually edit eyes. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do, because I will be doing more tutorials like this one very soon on my channel. And if there's any requests that you guys have, please let me know in the comments section below. I'm always open to hearing requests, especially when it comes to beauty retouching, which is what I'm doing a lot of at the moment. I'm happy to do more of those tutorials. And thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you next time. Bye!